What's up, Failroaders? I'm Joshua Thomas, and welcome to part 5 of our How to Play Star Wars Rebellion and its expansion, Rise of the Empire. In this video, we're going to talk about everything that there is to do with developing, deploying, and creating units. The first thing you need to know about creating units is it happens every other turn whenever you see this icon right here. So literally on all the even icons is when you get to develop units. The way you know which units you can develop is based on the symbol of the planet that you have control of or that you have subjugated. Now when it comes to subjugation, you only get to create the unit that is on the planet on the first symbol. So in this case, we've got the subjugation marker, and we can create one ground triangle unit, but we cannot create one ground square unit from Sullust. And then we're going to place it on the second space in our build queue for this planet because it has a number 2 by it. It's either going to have a 1, 2, or 3 in this little section right here. Now that we know what symbols we can use to build, we have to look at our faction boards and match up those symbols for either our space units in blue or our ground units in orange. When we know which ones we want to build, we can take those pieces and put them on our build tracker, like so. Now there's lots of special cases in which special circumstances and rules affect the building of units. The Empire especially has to have special cards from their missions in order to build lots of their very powerful weapons. So you'll see here most of these cards come from the development deck, denoted by this little white star right here. Also, the development deck can affect the build queue as well, either add more units to the build queue, or speed up the build queue, or even deploy units from the build queue quicker. The Rebels also have missions like this, but probably a lot less of them. When it comes to sabotage markers, the Rebel player places the sabotage markers over the icons for building on that planet, which means that this planet has been sabotaged from being able to produce these units. Not only that, but when these units are ready to be deployed, they can't deploy here either. So frustrating for the Empire. But don't worry, lots of things can be frustrating for the Rebels too. This is what a typical build queue looks like for the game. And notice how the Rebels have far fewer units than the Empire. So at the end phase of each round, regardless of whether there is a build icon or not, you can always deploy units. And the way you deploy units is by sliding them off of the number 1 section, and then the rest of these slide down 1. Once again, regardless of whether there is a build icon on the round tracker or not. Once all these units have slid off, that means they are ready to be deployed. Oh man, look at all these Rebel units I get to deploy. So let's take a look at what deployments look like. The important thing to know about deploying is that you can only take 2 units and deploy them to each sector. So once I have deployed my 2 units, I can also put 2 on the Rebel base, so we'll put 2 of our units on the Rebel base off screen. And okay, I've deployed everything that I can deploy. I have no legal place that I can put these units. So unfortunately, they're gonna have to go back to space 1 on the build queue. And I'm gonna have to try and take over some more planets in order to be able to deploy all of these units. Now chances are this is only ever going to happen with the Empire because, oh man, they can build so many units. But once you've reached the limit of your units, say this is the last stormtrooper I have, but I have planets that could build more stormtroopers, well, that's it. Once you run out of pieces, you can't produce any more of that particular piece, like the stormtrooper. So it might behoove you to maybe go get them killed. You also don't have to deploy all of your units if you don't want to. Perhaps you're waiting to take over a planet so you can deploy units there. I don't know what your strategy there is, but that's just the way it is. And in a team game, the Admiral is the only person who builds and deploys units for some reason. It's kind of weird how team games work in this game. Looking at some of our special mission cards, usually these mission cards are going to tell you which area of the build queue to put your units, whether it be on build queue 2 or 3, and then you've got the Death Star under construction with a normal completed Death Star on the build queue. So once it gets completely completed, then it will replace the Death Star under construction. Special notes on the Imperial units. If you have a shield bunker on a remote planet, that planet can also be used to produce units. Once again, these deployments are still restricted to 2 units per planet, so you can still put 2 units here, regardless of how many development symbols you have. So take, for instance, Bespin only has 1 symbol for building units, but you can still deploy 2 units here if you want to. Oh, and on an odd side note, guess where you can't build a Corellian Corvette? In Corellia, because, well, that makes sense, right? Yeah. Alright, I guess they outsourced like American factories do. Well, that's all the rules I have to tell you about building and deploying units. There's lots of mission cards that give you special options when it comes to building and deploying, but in looking at them, I think they're all pretty self-explanatory. Nevertheless, if you've got any questions, comment below, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Also, make sure you subscribe and click that bell button so that you can check out the next videos in these series as they come out. In fact, the next one is going to be about all the rules you want to know about the Rebel base. Hope you'll join us on our next part of How to Play Star Wars Rebellion, and check out all of our other board gaming videos on Failroad Express as well. Catch you next time. Hey, is there a question that you had that this video didn't answer? Leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But keep in mind that your answer might just be in a different video if it's in a different category. Thanks for watching.